Dillon Gabriel, sweaty from the game, sits down in front of the cameras. Reporters do what reporters always do, lob him a standard post-game question. But instead of giving the safe, predictable answer, something like, "We've got to execute better, it's a team effort, we'll bounce back," Gabriel decides to swing for the fences. He goes off script. He calls out Shedeur Sanders. And not in the, "Oh, I respect his talent but I want to prove myself," kind of way. No.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Gabriel decides to cut deep. He tries to frame Shedeur as not a competitor, but an entertainer. Think about the weight of that. Entertainer, not competitor. In a league where toughness, leadership, and grit are currency, Gabriel basically accused Sanders of being a poser, a performer, a show pony. And the moment those words left his mouth, you could practically hear the sound of glass shattering. Because here's what Gabriel didn't realize. Shedeur Sanders isn't just a player. He's an empire. He's not just a quarterback. He's a brand, a cultural force, a generational talent whose influence stretches from the field to TikTok to Fashion Week runways. Insulting Shedeur isn't the same as trash-talking a rival QB. It's stepping on a cultural landmine. Within minutes, the clip is everywhere. ESPN runs it on loop. Twitter, X, but nobody calls it that, turns Gabriel into a chew toy. TikTok edits start popping up. Shedeur highlights scored with dramatic music, cut against Gabriel's missed throws and awkward comments. Instagram memes flood in. And just like that, Gabriel's insult is no longer about football, it's about him. The memes are merciless. Side-by-sides comparing Sanders in designer fits against Gabriel's awkward post-game outfit. Captions like, "Entertainer, 3 TDs, competitor, 3 INTs. Compilation reels of Gabriel's worst plays overlaid with his competitor quote. He tried to draw a line in the sand, but the internet drew one for him. And guess what? Gabriel ended up on the wrong side. Meanwhile, what's Shedeur Sanders doing? Nothing. Not a single tweet. Not one Instagram story. No press conference jabs. He just stays silent. And in that silence, Shedeur wins. Because silence, when you're Shedeur Sanders, isn't weakness. It's dominance. He doesn't need to clap back. He doesn't need to acknowledge Gabriel. He lets the world do it for him. Fans, celebrities, analysts, they all rise to his defense. They mock Gabriel on Shedeur's behalf. They turn Sanders' composure into part of his brand. The less Shedeur says, the bigger he looks. And the smaller Gabriel becomes. That's not just smart. That's devastating. Let's pause and look at the history of trash talk. Larry Bird, Muhammad Ali, Deion Sanders. Trash talk is baked into the DNA of sports. But here's the key difference. Those legends backed it up. They called their shots, then delivered. Gabriel doesn't have that resume. He doesn't have rings, records, or dominance to lean on. He's a guy still fighting to prove himself. So when he takes aim at Shedeur, it doesn't come off as swagger. It comes off as jealousy, as bitterness. Fans see it. Scouts see it. Coaches see it. And that's why this moment isn't just embarrassing. It's dangerous for Gabriel's future. Because let's talk about the NFL. Teams don't just draft arms. They draft leaders. They draft men who can carry the weight of an entire franchise, face the press week after week, and embody composure under pressure. What did Gabriel just show? That under pressure, he'll lash out. That instead of keeping the focus on his game, he'll take a cheap shot at someone else. That his instinct, in the heat of the moment, is to go negative. And scouts notice that. Owners notice that. The league notices that. Which is why whispers of suspension aren't just rumor, they're the NFL protecting its brand. Protecting one of its rising stars from being dragged down by careless commentary. Because like it or not, Shedeur Sanders isn't just a player, he's an asset. A face of the future. And the league won't let someone tarnish that without consequences. Now let's talk about the optics in the locker room. Imagine being Gabriel's teammate, watching him take a swipe on national TV. Do you trust him to lead? Do you believe he's focused on the team or on his own insecurities? Quarterbacks aren't just supposed to throw passes, they're supposed to embody stability. And Gabriel just broadcasted instability to the world. That kind of crack in the armor doesn't just hurt your image outside the locker room. It hurts inside it too. You think veterans in that room aren't side-eyeing him right now? You think teammates aren't asking, if he'll throw shade at Shedeur, what's he saying about us when the cameras are off? That kind of doubt poisons chemistry. And chemistry is everything. Meanwhile, Shedeur continues to thrive. By saying nothing, he lets his play speak. He keeps stacking numbers, keeps building his brand, keeps proving that you can be both competitor and entertainer. He's not distracted. He's not rattled. He's untouchable. That contrast, Shedeur calm and dominant, Gabriel defensive and chaotic, cements the narrative. It's not just about one bad comment anymore. It's about two paths diverging. One path leads to superstardom. The other? To memehood. But let's get real. Maybe Gabriel thought he could be the villain. Maybe he thought taking a shot at Shedeur would get him noticed, spark a rivalry, elevate his profile. After all, every hero needs a foil, right? Here's the problem, villains only work if they're compelling. If they're good enough to back up the talk. Without that, you're not a villain. You're just background noise. And Gabriel? He's background noise to Shedeur Sanders' symphony. The internet is the great equalizer. It amplifies greatness, but it also magnifies mistakes. Gabriel's mistake wasn't just that he insulted Shedeur. It's that he underestimated how quickly the digital world would spin that insult into a defining narrative. Because once the memes start, once the clips go viral, once your insult becomes a TikTok soundtrack, you don't control it anymore. The internet does. And the internet has decided Dillon Gabriel is the clown in this story. Let's land on the lessons because this fiasco is basically a crash course for every young athlete. Lesson 1. Words are weapons. Use them carelessly and they'll blow up in your face. Lesson 2. Silence can be the strongest response. Shedeur proved that by doing nothing, he gained everything. Lesson 3. The balance of power has shifted. In today's sports, cultural icons like Shedeur Sanders are untouchable. Insulting them doesn't elevate you. It erases you. So here we are, Dillon Gabriel, facing suspension, drowning in memes, his reputation teetering on the edge. And Shedeur Sanders? Unbothered. Elevated. Even more powerful than before. It's not just a controversy. It's a cautionary tale. And the moral is simple. If you're going to open your mouth, make sure your game can cash the checks your words right. Because if it can't, you end up like Gabriel, overshadowed, outplayed, and out of options. Now I want to hear from you. Was Dillon Gabriel trying to be clever, or was it pure recklessness? Do you think he can recover, or is this insult going to define him moving forward? And was Shedeur's silence the ultimate strategic move, or just him being too far above the noise to care? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want to ride along for every meltdown, every viral blow-up, and every scandal shaking the sports world, hit subscribe. Because this Gabriel Sanders drama? It's just one chapter in a much bigger story about fame, power, and the unforgiving court of public opinion. And trust me, the next chapter is already being written. It's post-game. Cameras everywhere. Gabriel is sitting under those hot, unforgiving studio lights. You can see the frustration in his eyes. The game didn't go his way. His team looked shaky. He's searching for an angle, a way to reframe the narrative. Instead of focusing on his own play, instead of taking accountability, he decides to grab the microphone of drama and run with it. He throws shade at Shedeur Sanders. And not just shade, a full eclipse. He calls him more of an entertainer than a competitor. A jab meant to slice, to distinguish himself as the gritty grinder in contrast to Shedeur's superstar aura. But here's the problem. That jab wasn't just mistimed, it was catastrophic. Because in 2025, Shedeur Sanders isn't simply another quarterback. He's not even just a star. He's the face of an entire movement. Let's break down why this was such a miscalculation. Shedeur isn't just balling out on the field, though he's doing that too. He's building a cultural empire. His logo shirts? Selling millions. His social media presence? Global. His interviews? Viral gold. Shedeur has managed to become both the competitor and the entertainer. He doesn't have to choose, because the new generation doesn't believe in that false divide anymore. So when Gabriel tries to separate the two, he looks old school, bitter, out of touch. It's like telling LeBron James he can't be both an activist and a champion, or telling Steph Curry he can't be both a family man and a deadly shooter. The modern athlete is multifaceted. That's the whole point. Gabriel's insult wasn't just an attack on Shedeur. It was an attack on everything athletes have been building toward for decades, the right to be more than just the uniform. And the internet smelled it immediately. The clip hit Twitter within minutes, and from there it was a bloodbath. SportsCenter picked it up. Fan accounts memed it. TikTok turned it into a loop. Fans began stacking highlight reels of Shedeur's best plays right next to Gabriel's most embarrassing misses. Side-by-sides went viral. Captions like, entertainer, 4 TDs, competitor, 0 playoff wins. Gabriel didn't just start a conversation. He accidentally auditioned for the role of meme villain. And the internet cast him instantly. But here's the Shakespearean twist. While Gabriel's name burned in the flames of ridicule, Shedeur Sanders said absolutely nothing. No tweets. No Instagram clapbacks. No cryptic emojis. Just silence. And that silence was the loudest thing in the entire story. Because silence, when wielded correctly, is devastating. Shedeur didn't need to respond because he was already winning, on the field, in the headlines, in the culture. His restraint wasn't passive. It was dominance. By refusing to engage, he elevated himself. He looked untouchable, unbothered, regal. And Gabriel? He looked like he was shadowboxing a ghost. Let's not underestimate how damaging this is for Gabriel long-term. NFL scouts aren't stupid. They don't just look at arm strength or footwork. They look at leadership, maturity, professionalism. They ask, can this guy handle being the face of a franchise? Can he carry the weight of expectations without cracking? And Gabriel just showed them the opposite. He showed them a quarterback who, under pressure, lashes out. Who takes cheap shots instead of taking accountability. Who doesn't understand that every word he says is a potential headline. That's why whispers of suspension are circling. Because this wasn't just about Shedeur. It was about optics. The league doesn't want one of its rising stars dragged into unnecessary drama. It doesn't want the narrative to shift from Shedeur's brilliance to Gabriel's bitterness. And it definitely doesn't want quarterbacks making headlines for immaturity instead of excellence. So Gabriel isn't just facing memes. He's facing the possibility that one comment could stick to his name like gum on a cleat, forever. Now let's step into Gabriel's locker room. Imagine being one of his teammates. You just fought through a grueling game, only to turn on SportsCenter and see your QB taking potshots at another player instead of owning up to the loss. That doesn't inspire confidence. That doesn't rally the troops. That makes you wonder, is this guy really built to lead us? Quarterbacks are supposed to be pillars. Calm, steady, accountable. Gabriel looked shaky, reactive, insecure. And once those questions start creeping into a locker room, they're hard to shake. Meanwhile, Shedeur is glowing. He's out there doing what he always does, stacking stats, commanding huddles, being both entertainer and competitor with ease. His silence made him look wise. His composure made him look unshakable. And that's why this saga feels so lopsided. Gabriel lost the internet. He lost the narrative. He lost credibility in the locker room. Shedeur? He didn't just survive. He ascended. But here's where it gets almost poetic. Gabriel accused Shedeur of being an entertainer. And what did Gabriel end up becoming? The entertainment. He became the clown in the circus. The meme. The punchline. Meanwhile, Shedeur remained the main event. The one people actually paid to see. That's irony at its sharpest. Gabriel tried to diminish Shedeur, but in doing so, he diminished himself. Let's pull back for a second, because this story isn't just about two quarterbacks. It's about the landscape of sports in 2025. The line between athlete and celebrity is gone. Today's stars are brands. They're businesses. They're influencers, cultural icons, and entrepreneurs, all rolled into one. And that's not a distraction, it's the new model. Shedeur represents that perfectly. He's proof that you can sell $100 million worth of merch and carve up defenses on Sunday. He's proof that being an entertainer doesn't make you less of a competitor, it makes you bigger. Gabriel's comment didn't just fail. It revealed he doesn't understand the era he's playing in. And if you can't adapt to the new era eats you alive. So what's the takeaway here? For Gabriel, it's that words have weight. You can't afford to be careless in the age of instant virality. One slip can define you. One soundbite can haunt you. For Shedeur, it's that silence can be strategy. That sometimes the strongest flex is restraint. That letting the world defend you is more powerful than defending yourself. And for everyone watching, it's that the balance of power has shifted. Stars like Shedeur Sanders aren't just athletes, they're institutions. And if you try to knock them down with words, all you're really doing is burying yourself. So here's the big question: can Dillon Gabriel recover? Or is he destined to be remembered as the guy who called Shedeur an entertainer and got roasted into oblivion? Only time will tell. But one thing's certain, this saga has already etched itself into sports lore. And Shedeur Sanders? He didn't just win. He didn't even play the game. Calling Shedeur Sanders an entertainer instead of a competitor was meant to sting. It was meant to carve out a contrast. Gabriel wanted to position himself as the grinder, the hard-nosed, no-frills, all-football guy. But the second those words left his lips, the cultural earthquake began. Here's why. Shedeur Sanders has worked his entire career to prove you can be both. He doesn't have to choose between entertainer and competitor, because in 2025, the modern athlete is both. He can throw 4 touchdowns on Sunday, then walk into a Nike shoot Monday morning, then be trending on TikTok by Tuesday afternoon. That's not a weakness. That's the new definition of power. So when Gabriel tried to strip that away, he wasn't just insulting Shedeur. He was insulting the evolution of sports itself. It's like stepping into a smartphone launch event and declaring, phones should only make calls. The crowd would laugh you out of the room. Because times have changed, and Dillon Gabriel didn't get the memo. The backlash was immediate and merciless. Social media turned into a feeding frenzy. Clips of Shedeur dropping dimes were stitched with Gabriel's quote, captioned, "Entertainer? This entertainer just cooked your defense." TikToks went viral showing Shedeur at fashion events, side by side with Gabriel throwing ducks, overlaid with, "Who's really competing here?" And the memes? They were brutal. Side-by-side graphics, Shedeur in custom Nike gear, Gabriel in oversized post-game sweats. Captions like, "Entertainer, global icon. Competitor, can't complete a screen pass." The internet is undefeated, and Gabriel never stood a chance. Meanwhile, Shedeur's silence made him look untouchable. That's the genius of it. He didn't respond. No tweets. No Instagram stories. No interviews. Just nothing. And that nothingness? It said everything. Because silence, when you're Shedeur Sanders, isn't passive. It's powerful. It's a flex. It's saying, you don't even deserve a response. While Gabriel was being roasted into oblivion, Shedeur's image only grew stronger. He looked regal above the fray, focused on the game. He let the world clap back for him, and the world did it gleefully. It's one thing to win a game. It's another to win without even stepping on the field. But here's where the story takes on real weight, the professional consequences. Trash talk is fine when you can back it up. Ali did it. Larry Bird did it. Kobe did it. But they earned the right through dominance. Gabriel hasn't. And because he hasn't, his words don't read as confidence. They read as insecurity. And in the NFL, that's deadly. Scouts, coaches, executives, they don't just want talent. They want maturity. They want quarterbacks who understand the spotlight. Because at the end of the day, the QB isn't just an athlete. He's the face of the franchise. He's the one doing weekly press conferences, fielding tough questions, managing egos in the locker room. So what did Gabriel just prove? That under the heat of those lights, he cracks. That instead of accountability, he deflects. That instead of focusing on the solution, he takes aim at the star who wasn't even part of the problem. If you're a GM, how do you sell that to your fan base? How do you hand the keys of your franchise to someone who can't even handle a post-game mic without imploding? That's why whispers of suspension have weight. Not because the NFL is fragile, but because they're protective of their investments. Shedeur Sanders isn't just a player, he's a cultural cash cow. And Gabriel, by opening his mouth, stepped directly into that cash flow like it was a tripwire. And then there's the locker room angle. Football isn't just about talent, it's about trust. Teammates need to believe their quarterback has their back. That when the chips are down, he'll carry himself like a leader, not like a liability. But imagine being one of Gabriel's teammates, watching him torch Shedeur Sanders in an interview. You'd think, if he's willing to throw shade at Shedeur on national TV, what's he saying about us when the cameras are off? That seed of doubt spreads. And once doubt infects a locker room, it's hard to shake. Gabriel's words didn't just damage his image, they risked damaging team chemistry, the one thing that can make or break a season. Now let's flip the lens back to Shedeur. Because for him, this controversy was a gift. It reinforced everything his brand already stood for. He didn't have to lift a finger, and the world painted him as the composed professional. His silence looked like wisdom. His focus looked like maturity. His entire reputation ascended while Gabriel's crumbled. That's the asymmetry of influence. When you're at Shedeur's level, you don't need to fight back. The culture fights for you. And that's exactly what happened. But let's go bigger, because this story isn't just about two quarterbacks. It's about the state of sports in 2025. The lines are gone. Competitor versus entertainer? That's not a divide anymore. It's the fusion. Athletes today aren't just judged by touchdowns or baskets. They're judged by their ability to move culture, to sell merch, to trend globally, to inspire conversation, to lead movements. Shedeur Sanders embodies that perfectly. He's redefining what it means to be a quarterback in the modern era. He's not just leading a team. He's leading an empire. Gabriel, in trying to knock him down, only revealed he doesn't understand that reality. He tried to play by the old rules in a world that's already moved on. And when you don't understand the rules of the new game eats you alive. So where does this leave us? For Gabriel, it leaves him standing at a crossroads. He can double down, play the villain, and hope that being the heel buys him relevance. Or he can learn from this disaster, admit the mistake, rebuild his image, and try to prove he belongs on the field more than he belongs in memes. For Shedeur, it leaves him stronger than ever. Unbothered. Elevated. He walked through this fire without a scratch, his silence shining brighter than any clapback ever could. And for the rest of us? It leaves us with a crystal-clear reminder. In the digital age, every word matters. Words can crown you, and words can crucify you. So let me throw this back to you. Do you think Dillon Gabriel can recover from this? Or has he already been branded forever as the guy who dissed Shedeur Sanders and lost? And do you think Shedeur's silence was pure strategy? Or just proof that he's playing a game Gabriel isn't even qualified to step into? Drop your thoughts below. And if you want to keep unpacking every meltdown, every controversy, and every sports drama that spirals into cultural chaos, make sure you subscribe. Because in the court of public opinion, Dillon Gabriel just learned that one sentence can end a season. And Shedeur Sanders? He just proved that sometimes silence isn't empty. It's undefeated.